Welcome to the In Between podcast, and I'm so excited for you guys to join me for another solo episode. If you were with me last week, we talked all about confidence and how to develop your most confident self. And I ended on one of my favorite tips, which is trusting yourself. And that's what we're talking about today. Trusting, how to build trust with yourself, how to become more aware of if you trust yourself or not. I think when I first learned of the concept of trusting myself, I thought it was kind of dumb because I was like, well, of course I trust myself. Like, I've lived 20 years of my life or however old I was. And then I realized, man, like, I'm kind of a shitty friend to myself at that point. I realized that I told myself that I did a lot of things. I was going to do a lot of things and I wouldn't do them. And it was actually listening to Rachel Hollis's book. I think it was her first book, Girl, Wash Your Face, where she talks about trusting herself. And she talks about going to dinner with her friends and they were leaving dinner and she was like, oh, I have to go home and I have to run on the treadmill. And they were like, why would you do that? Like, we just went out to dinner, just go home and go to bed. And she said, well, I made a promise to run on the treadmill every day and I don't break promises to myself. And then she goes into how that impacts trusting herself. And I remember I read this book like 4 times. And I remember every time I read it, I'd be like, wow, like that's wild. Her friends were questioning her because it's not the normal thing to do. Like the normal thing is to be like, oh, I went out to dinner. Like I'm not going to finish this. And it really impacted me. And now I have a lot of conversations in my head of like, okay, I told myself I was going to do this. Why, if I told my best friend that I was going to do it, would I follow through? But because it's me, I say, oh, you can do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow turns into 6 months, whatever it is. And so that was probably 2018, 2019 when I really started to dive into that conversation with myself. And it wasn't that I was trusting myself. I was asking myself why I don't trust myself and why I don't have the confidence in myself to go do what I say I'm going to do. And if, for me, integrity is a big value, and if I say that's a big value, it's a big red flag to not be in integrity with myself. And so I want to give some tips for trusting yourself. And the first one is showing up for yourself, which we talk a lot about in the last episode. So I'm not going to go super deep into it. Check out the episode on confidence and we'll put it in the show notes if you want to learn more about how I say to trust yourself, to show up for yourself. One of the things that I said in the last episode is that in order to trust yourself, you have to show up and you have to be consistent. Just like if you are building a new friendship and you're learning to trust them, if they show up for 7 days and then they ghost you for 2 weeks, you're, wait, what happened? Same thing with you. If you tell yourself you're going to do something, you do it, then you stop and you never do it again. Your brain hears that, your soul hears that. And it's like, what's going on? Like, why did you stop? Why don't you continue to show up for me? And then bring that down the line. Why don't you trust me? So if you listen to the last episode, if not, I really want you to go back and listen to it. But if you listen to it, I want to give you a little bit of an activity to implement showing up for yourself that will also create trusting yourself. So I want you to set one mini goal, and I'm going to call it a mini goal because I don't want you to say like, I'm going to build a 6-figure company. I want you to say something as small as like, I want to hit 10,000 steps a day. Okay. You're going to repeat this for 90 days straight and you are not allowed to break it. Okay. If you're in the hospital with a broken leg, we can talk about that, but you're really not allowed to break it. And it can be many, it can be a water goal, steps. I prefer to do like a movement goal just because I think there's so many benefits, but maybe it's reading a book. Whatever it is, it has to be for you. It needs to be just for you, not with your friend, not with your husband, not with your kids, for you. And you're going to do it for 90 days and you're not going to break it. And I want you to reflect during it, maybe every week, every month, and ask yourself, like, how do I feel? How does my confidence feel? Do I trust myself more? Do I feel that I'm going to continue to show up for myself? Do that. Let me know how it goes. Message me at In Between Convos, and I would love to hear what you think of it because that's basically how I started with going to the gym. Is like I had hired a trainer and I was just like, hey, I'm going to do this for the 6 months and I'm not going to skip a workout, whatever my plan is. And now when I get up in the morning and I don't want to go to the gym, it's like, no, this is part of who I am. I get up and I do what I say I'm going to do. Second part is surrounding yourself with the right people. We, as cliche as it sounds, like we are the 5 people that we surround ourselves with most. And this doesn't mean that I want you to retire all your friends for like successful influencers and entrepreneurs or whatever is in your head. I think that different people bring different things to the table. Okay. So I don't want you to copy and paste all the same 5 people around you and then hopefully you're that successful person in your mind. I want you to have people in your life who you love how they run their business. They are so smart and successful, and that's what you take from that person. But over here, I have someone who's so giving, and the way that they serve their community brings me to tears. It brings me power and energy, and I want to bring that into my life. Someone over here is so hardworking. I want that from them, right? We're not looking for 5 of the most perfect people in the world because it doesn't exist. We're looking for 5 people whose specific traits you admire so much that you want and you want to bring into your life and into your circle. Those are the people that you want to surround yourself with. If you're looking at a person in your life and every single thing that they do is not aligned and you can't even pick out one value that aligns with you, that person is not someone you want to be spending all your time with. You also don't want to be the smartest, best person in every single room. Your 5 people, they should have things that you are just not good at, and you're able to learn from them and value, that inside of them. And those people need to have values that you want. Yeah, they can have values that are different from you, but they need to have values that you want because that's how you grow. That's how you get better. And in the end, that's how you learn to trust yourself more, is to strengthen those values. And that's my last tip, is value alignment and ensuring that your values align with who you are. And values can be tricky because they change, and they can change so fast too. But having quarterly, monthly, whatever you want to do, check-ins with your values and asking yourself, like, what are 4 to 5 things that I value in my life? And you can even break it down to family, business. I have some of mine broken down to, like, I have finance values that are just for my finances. I actually have values around my home and my space. And so you can get very granular with your values, and you can also be very broad and be like, hey, these are my top 4 values that I want to be in alignment with. If you're not living into those values, you will not trust yourself because you're out of alignment. If you say your value is integrity, I'll say, because I keep using that example, if my value is integrity and then I have been lying to my friends and I've been telling them I'm going to the gym and I'm not, I'm going to have some dysregulation in my life because I'm not living into who I truly am and who I intend to show up as, because your values are who you are today, but they're also who you want to be. And so if you're not living into them, you're not able to project who you're going to be. And that goes all the way into like manifesting what you want for your life. So taking a look at those values and asking yourself, are they in alignment? And then are you living into those values will allow you to trust yourself and will build that muscle over time to trust yourself. So I hope this episode was valuable to you. And I hope that you can spend some time reflecting on asking yourself the question, do I trust myself? And then asking yourself, if not, why? And how can I show up to trust myself more? And if you answer yes, and you do trust yourself, what can I do to improve that relationship? Have a great day, guys.